My grandfather, Candelario Vargas, and this is my grandmother, Maria de Jesus Vargas. Unfortunately, both of them have passed away, but we have a lot of very good memories of my grandmother and my grandfather there in the ranch.
On the windy high plains of Jalisco, Mexico, Juan Vargas returns to the tiny adobe cottage where his father was born and raised, a place he remembers from his own childhood.
It was terrific. As kids, we'd run around here with my grandfather, who's a very nice guy, my grandmother, who was just terrific, and we'd have little stories here at night, and there was no electricity.
Coming back to the old homestead today seems to put Juan's own life into focus.
When I look at this and I look at what has happened to our family, I mean, we've certainly changed directions, I think, in the world, and I think it's much for the better. But of course, there's a lot to be said about living a very simple life, and that's the type of life that the people here, and especially my dad, had.
Is this humbling at all for you? Does it bring things into perspective?
It brings things very much into perspective. It lets you know that you're just a human being just like everyone else, and you've had a few more opportunities, but there's a basic human reality, and that is we're all equal. And this shows it. I think it's great. I love coming back.
Stretching out beyond the family home is a stunning contrast of gray-green cacti against the rich red soil of Palenque.
When you look at these plants, do you see anything in common?
I guess one of the things I like about these plants, and I worked for a long time in a nursery, is that they're organic. They come up out of the earth, and they come out of rich earth, just like my family did.
But as he grew up in San Diego, Juan discovered that not everyone shared the appreciation of his Mexican ancestry.
Prejudice is one of the things I used to hate. I'm not quite as athletic now as I used to be, but I used to be very athletic as a kid, and I could play better than a lot of kids, and yet I wouldn't get picked first or even near first. I'd get picked towards the end, and that's because, you know, I was a Chicano. They'd pick me towards the end, and that always hurt. I mean, I didn't like that.
Now, the racism didn't always stop with team sports. Many times, Juan was subject to name-calling and bullies' threats.
You just feel like, you know, you can't fit in because people are looking at you as less than human.
And yet, he never let that hold him back.
As soon as you act the victim, you're going to go nowhere fast. And I think I understood that early on, that if people called me these things, or, you know, I'd talk back. I didn't take it. But at the same time, I knew that I was not going to be called the victim and just play dead, and that was it. No way.
Still, for Juan, finding his place within mainstream society was a baptism by fire, but also an experience that has had a profound impact on his personal development.
I think ultimately I derived understanding for other people's pain in that, and I think that's probably why I wanted to be a priest. I think the secret is that even the oppressor is oppressed himself or herself. If they really knew how it felt, they wouldn't do that.
He speaks with an open heart, always coming back to his Christian faith.
In the end, God is just and God is merciful. You do your best. If people hate you because of who you are, God loves you. And you'll always know that, and He'll always be there.
His love of God, his commitment to family, and his cultural pride together create an unshakable foundation for Juan Vargas. Even as a child, Juan found the courage to resist pressure from teachers to change his name to John. His Mexican heritage was not to be forgotten.
I was always proud, always.
Was there ever a point when you regretted being Mexican?
Never.
Because, you know, a lot of people say, well, no, I'm Spanish.
No, I'm not Spanish at all. As you can tell, I'm from the clay of Mexico. I'm certainly not Spanish. I'm from the adobes of Mexico. My family roots are here. Of course, I consider myself an American, but my roots are here.